Hey, y'all, did y'all see that the Yankees, after 49 years, are allowing their players to have neatly trimmed beards throughout the season? That might be the key ingredient to why they haven't won a World Series in a long time. It might be. You know, you let your Carlos Stanton, Aaron Judge get a little peach fuzz and swing the bat away.
Yeah.
What y'all think of that?
I thought it was a joke. I saw MLB had posted and everything. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's a serious thing.
Yeah. I was like, dude, that's crazy.
And then what's funny is Devin Williams, the closer, their new closer, he shaved his beard a few weeks before this new ruling came out. So now you got to start on. I know he's sick.
That's crazy word.
Hey,
I could never play for the Yankees.
Yeah, I was just about to say, hey, Matt, we can play for the Yankees now. We can sign the contract.
Yeah, you're in the clear.
yeah, we in the clear now. But welcome back to the Stacey On Sports Show here on YouTube. I am your main host, Stacey Carter II, joined by always Matt Huff, Noah Urudia. And we have an interesting show to talk about. Speaking of baseball, we got to talk about a little bit of a controversial topic going on with Major League Baseball and ESPN. And also we got to discuss a future MVP candidate and him missing the rest of the season. But let's start with the NFL. We all know the Tennessee Titans have the number 1 overall pick. It was reported that they thinking about trading their number 1 overall pick. And I'm assuming that whatever team gets that pick wants a quarterback. We already discussed the top 2 quarterbacks, clearing above in this draft, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. Let's go around the room and debate this. What team needs that number 1 overall pick the most? Who should hit the Titans up on the phone and say, hey, let's make a trade? Matt, who you think that team should be?
I think it should be the New York Giants. I mean, last year you had the whole Daniel Jones fiasco. You ended up cutting him after you got rid of Saquon Barkley, who is now a Super Bowl champion on your division rival. You passed up on guys like Jaden Daniels in last year's draft. So I don't think you can make the same mistake twice. I think you have to, if you're the New York Giants, you have to take a chance on either Ward or Sanders. And, you know, I know they got other positional needs, but I mean, you're in a New York market still. I don't know what their cap space situation exactly looks like off the top of my head, but you still got free agency you could potentially utilize to kind of address some of those needs. So with that in mind, I think you've got to take a swing at one of those 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, they have to pair a quarterback with Malik Neighbors. They got to get somebody in there because that's a talented wide receiver, and he was up for Rookie of the Year this past season. So got to have somebody for him. You got a franchise wide receiver. You got to try to find your franchise quarterback. So, okay, we got the Giants. Noah, who you got?
Yeah, I'd probably say the Giants, and it's so unfortunate to the sense that like this is not the strongest quarterback class to be desperately needing one in. So, but if I were to say out of all like the teams in the top 10 that are probably the most desperate to get the number 1 pick, it'd probably be them and I don't know, the Jets. So either New York teams, but I'd probably put my money on the Giants to go for that number 1 pick the most aggressively.
Yeah, the Jets are in an interesting place because, and I talked about this on the Empire State Sports Show. Y'all should check that out, by the way. The Jets, they got to find out what direction they're going in at quarterback because they still got Garrett Wilson and you still have Devontae Adams. Going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. Do you bring in a veteran because you got 2 veteran wide receivers, or do you start over and you pick a quarterback in this draft? It's tough because they're the 7th overall pick, and they're going to have to give up a lot to go to number 1. Do you take that swing if you're the Jets? But one team that I do want to point out is the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders last year had Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And that did not go out well for that team. Antonio Pierce is out of there. They got to find a new direction. I like Shedeur Sanders going to this team if they go up to the number 1 overall pick. I think he just fits in perfect with the aura, if you want to still call it that, with the Raiders, the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas. That could be a move right there for him. But if I'm the Titans, and I want y'all to answer this too, do you just stay at number one and you go with Travis Hunter? Because Travis Hunter is projected to go 2 to the Cleveland Browns. And the Titans, they have Will Levis, who, I mean, we don't know what direction he's going. He's not bad, but he's not, top tier either. Do you just go for that dynamic player if you're the Tennessee Titans? Matt, if you were the Titans, will you stay at 1 and take Travis Hunter?
I think I would, because you clearly still have some faith in Will Levis, and this will be kind of you can treat this year kind of as like the make or break year, and like, okay, if it doesn't pan out, then we know next year going into the draft, we got to draft a new quarterback. If he starts to, start showing some improvements and whatnot, then you might be cooking with something, and you added someone who could develop into a top tier defensive back in the future as well. Because I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's coming in as a corner and not a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So then hey, there's one other positional need you've got covered now. And they also had a top 10 defensive unit already as is last year. So you're already reinforcing a really good defense. So I would stay and, take the risk. Just take Travis Hunter, see what happens with Will Levis this year, because you kind of got nothing to lose. So.
Yeah. And Noah, I know you were bringing up Abdul Carter not too long ago. Maybe that's somebody Tennessee can go after. So do you go after Abdul Carter, who's, I think he's projected to be the top prospect overall? Do you draft him or do you draft Travis Hunter?
If my choice was between the two, I'd probably take Travis, just because of his versatility, and he's literally Deion Sanders reincarnated. But to answer the original question, I probably would want to trade, consider one of my trading options for that number 1 overall pick, just because I feel like there's not really a set, considering there's not really a set number 1 overall pick in this draft. There's 3. I think it's a toss-up this year. And overall, I don't think it's a huge, a very strong draft class. So I feel like if you were to take that, swap picks, and probably take, a first round next year or another year or so, on top of the first pick you're going to already have after that next season, I feel like that'd help out their case with their rebuild if they were to stick with Levis another year. I'd say if you, swap picks right here, I'd say you get one of those top O linemen, stick with Levis, keep stacking the picks, and then keep building off those next few years, those draft classes, because I feel like there's going to be a lot more talent that's going to come by.
I just thought of this scenario. Let's say the Titans stay at 1 and they pick Travis Hunter. At 2, it's the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns, they're looking to move on from Deshaun Watson. We don't know if they're going to bring Jameis Winston back. And DTR is not looking good in the eyes of many. Matt, if you're the Cleveland Browns, do you take Shedeur or do you take Cam Ward at this spot?
Ooh.
Pick?
I would, since Cleveland is very desperate for a quarterback, I know Jameis Winston has his moments, but he's not sustainable long term. I would go Cam Ward. I would officially start the rebuild. I mean, it's time. It's been time for a hot minute now for that team. You could really choose either or, but I would go ahead and pick Cam Ward. We kind of talked about that already. I would pick Ward, but yeah, if I'm Cleveland, they're one of my teams I've said that has needed a quarterback for a while now. So yeah, that's what I would go with.
Now, as far as upside, I'm taking Shedeur over Cam Ward, but if I'm Cleveland at 2, I think I'm going to take Cam Ward over Shedeur, because I think Shedeur is still a project, and I think Cam Ward is close to completion. And then I think the Browns need somebody to come in right away and produce. Shedeur is one of those quarterbacks that probably can sit a year or sit half a year with whatever team that he goes to and develop from there. But I think Cam Ward is kind of a little bit more ready to play right away, although I think Shedeur's ceiling is a bit higher. Noah, if you're the Browns, are you taking Shedeur or are you taking Cam?
Probably take Cam Ward, not only just because I think Cam Ward is better than Shador, but I just think, like you said, he's more polished, pro ready. He's proven to do more in the college level than this team, what he was given. It wasn't a great team compared to what, skills wise, compared to what Shador had, and vice versa with the O line. To be fair, Shador didn't have a great O line in college, so it probably brought his value a bit down. But I think if you're Cleveland, Cleveland's the type of franchise I think is not going to have patience for a project quarterback and just develop. I mean, we've seen that over the years with like the Manziels and all the other ones, you know. So I feel like that's one they're going to want to have to go with if they're given the choice between the two.
All right. Well, we'll see how things shake out the NFL draft, see if Titans trade that pick or they just stay put at one. Let's move to the NBA. Victor Wembanyama had a blood clot in his shoulder, right shoulder, I believe, and he is now out for the season. He is out of the running for Defensive Player of the Year, which a lot of people were pointing towards him as in actually taking the award. It's a bit of a blow for the San Antonio Spurs, who were not really out of the play-in picture, and they just landed De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings. What does this mean with Victor being out? What does this mean for the Spurs going forward throughout the rest of the season? Matt, what you think is going to happen with this team?
Well, the number one thing for the team, I would say, do not panic. I mean, we wish Wembanyama the best, and his number one priority is obviously his health. This does not mean if you're the Spurs, start automatically tanking, in my opinion. You could still make a good run for the play-in. I mean, you still got De'Aaron Fox. Chris Paul is a leader who has made each team he's gone to better in his career. You know, he's kind of sort of that player coach now. And, you know, maybe he'll eventually transition into the head coach, especially with the recent news about Popovich not returning this season. But, I mean, this is a team, I mean, yeah, they're not exactly, like, sexy on paper, you know, without Wembanyama. But they still got some good talent. Like, Devin Vassell is a solid rotational piece and whatnot. And if he, De'Aaron Fox, and especially Chris Paul, who, you know, will get more opportunities now as the leader of that team, they could make a run still for that last play-in spot. And in the play-on tournament, you never know what can happen. So I would say for the Spurs, you know, get your franchise cornerstone healthy, you know, praying he comes back, because we all know what happened with Chris Bosh all those years ago. Unfortunately, he had to retire. But I would say do not panic yet if you're the San Antonio Spurs.
Noah, without Victor Wembanyama for the rest of the season, do you think they can continue to fight for a play-in spot, or you think it's over?
They get beat out the Suns. Come on, man. I'm just kidding. No, but I think it's most likely a sinking ship from the remaining of the year. Like Matt said earlier, we wish Wembanyama the best in his recovery and hope that he recovers soon. If I'm a San Antonio fan, I wouldn't panic either. I mean, you guys are second. It does help that they are probably one of the weaker divisions in the league, so that does, you know, ease off the anxiety and the panic button response there. So I feel like this is also a good moment for the team to see who can step up in certain times like this when they're without their star player, and see what else they could rebuild on going into next season. Besides, you know, obviously their biggest objective is getting Wembanyama back and ready for next season to go forward. But I think this is a good opportunity for them to see what they have to work with other than that going in the rest of the season.
They have no shot at getting in the play-in. It's over with for the rest of the season, especially without Wembanyama down low. That was their main presence down low, pretty much their only presence. Now, I do like the young pieces they got. Stephon Castle, Vassell, De'Aaron Fox. But this, and like Noah was going to be development for the last 20 plus games of this regular season. And they're going to be right back in the lottery. They ain't going to have the number one overall pick again, but they're going to be right back in the lottery, and they're going to have to find a big man that can kind of spell Wemby for stretches of the game as he worked his way back from this devastating news. But let's talk about Wemby going forward in the future. Do y'all think he will ever rise up to be an MVP candidate? Not just Defensive Player of the Year, but MVP of the league. Matt, do you think that he can actually reach that point?
I believe so. He still has all the tools and the skill set to make it happen. I mean, we saw his insane rookie year, and then it seemed like up until this point, he was having an even better sophomore campaign. And we saw him in the All-Star game. He was one of the few people who was actually trying in that All-Star game. We'll use that term loosely. And, you know, if you look at the numbers and whatnot, I mean, yeah, he's got all the projections there. I mean, again, hopefully, you know, I think he will come back with all the advances in medical science and whatnot nowadays. He should come back, and I think he'll come back at the rate he was going, and he should still continue to be the San Antonio Spurs cornerstone, and he could even be the face of the league one day.
Right. Yeah, to finish out this season, cut short though, 24.3 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists, and I believe he led the league in blocks. So, Noah, do you think that screams future MVP candidate?
Oh, absolutely. I think considering, I mean, he's 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got his whole life ahead of him to make that case for himself. So I think with the stats you just read, given the age that he's at and the stage where in his career where he's at, I think he's well on a great right path to a future MVP candidate for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a future MVP candidate. I think year 3, we was going to start putting his name up there. I mean, the stats speaks for themselves. He finished with a double-double, and once again, he led the league in blocks. So, like, he's up there. But face of the league, that's an interesting, because there's been a conversation like, who is going to be the face of the league? No, on Palm Tree perspective, they was talking about could be Luka Doncic. Maybe it should be Nikola Jokic. I mean, we talking about a three-time MVP, might be 4. Will it be SGA? We don't know. Do y'all think Wemby could actually be the face of the NBA?
I think
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Matt, think so?
Yeah.
Maybe. It's just, I feel like the league kind of values more of an offensive value, like element in players that want to be a face of the league type of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just pure defense. I definitely think it's possible, but it's going to be much harder for someone like him to, I think, be the face of an MVP when they have someone like Jokic or the Anthony Edwards and all those other uprising offensive stars that deliver more offensively to the league or their teams in general.
There's only 2 players right now to me that are stars that have the attitude to be the face of the league. Like the attitude, like they kind of want that. They kind of want to be great. And that's Wemby himself and Anthony Edwards. I don't get the sense, I don't get the vibe from other top names that they want to be the face of the league. They seem not to be interested. Most of them are international players, and those players been playing pro basketball, not high school, not college, pro basketball for a long time. So, like, they are kind of like on the back end of things to where, like, they kind of don't want that type of attention. Like, Luka Doncic been a pro since 15 years old. And he's the only one that's projected, if he goes at the pace that he's going to project to pass LeBron for his all-time leading scorer. And he said a while ago that he didn't want to play as long as LeBron has in the NBA. Like, he wants to retire at some point. Jokic don't seem interested in being at. Anthony Edwards.
Up and go home.
Yeah, he want to just ride his horse off into the sunset. And Anthony Edwards, he could turn people off at times with the things they say, but I do like how honest he is. But I still don't know if he wants to be the face. SGA is getting up there. Like
sure.
we see him in the commercials, we see him with the fashion. He might be the one, but to me, Victor does have the attitude, but I don't know if people are going to accept him as the face of the league just yet. I think we got to see another few seasons. Matt, you was gonna say something?
Yeah, I think if Victor does win like an MVP in say like year 3 or 4, I think he'll get to the point where people almost have no choice but to accept him as the face of the league, especially with like his attitude and his work ethic. I think if he gets that accolade, I think that's going to be what does it.
Yeah. So we're going to keep our eye on there. Hopefully, Victor can come back fully healthy by the start of next season. But let's go to this last topic. It's a bit of a social issue, more so than like on the field, on the court type of thing. The MLB, Major League Baseball, and ESPN had a deal, which includes Sunday Night Baseball and getting those feature games. That deal is going to end. ESPN was the biggest platform for Major League Baseball in order to showcase their game and their talent. But it seemed like the MLB doesn't want to pay those fees and everything. ESPN don't want to pay them fees, something like that. And MLB is going to be more so broadcast on Fox. And I think they have a deal with Apple, right? Apple TV. They might have something. Now, baseball, yes, it's supposed to be America's pastime, America's sport, but they do have a problem with marketing players to everybody. Like, it's only a handful of players that the casual fans, pop culture fans really know. Like, we know about Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, but outside of that, like, you really have to, like, dig into baseball. Your knowledge has to be almost compatible to know us, and you just don't really know anybody. ESPN was handling that, and now we're not gonna have that no more. So as far as about the league itself, do y'all think them not being on ESPN is going to hurt their exposure to the casual audience or the younger fans even? Know what you think?
Yeah, to the casual audience, yes. I still think they'll get their real baseball fan base to follow through with where they're being broadcasted and everything like that on the different channels and whatnot. But I think the accessibility is going to be tougher. So in that sense, it's going to be, because I feel like baseball games are already kind of hard to find with how many channels are already on in general throughout the season. So I feel like once they minimize that and kind of change things up and kind of make things a bit more complicated than everyone's already used to being, it's like, okay, well, everyone's gonna be like, what are we doing here, baseball? Like, I just want to turn on the 67th regular season game, middle of the year type of thing. So I don't know. I feel like that will kind of complicate things for the general fan base.
Man, how you feel about ESPN and Major League Baseball ending their deal rather surprisingly?
So I will admit, I am kind of like the casual baseball fan who does have interest in kind of getting back into it. However, Rob Manfred, I just saw his quote about it. He was unhappy with how much little coverage ESPN was giving the game of baseball. And I think he's onto something, because it's like with ESPN, it's like I honestly kind of forgot that they do baseball. Like, don't send your henchmen for me, ESPN, but it's like I hear about LeBron James and the Kansas City Chiefs enough day by day. Like, tell me a little bit about what's going on in the other sports, and that includes baseball. So, from that perspective, I don't think it's actually such a bad thing that they're terminating that relationship. You could maybe look into somewhere like CBS could maybe seize that opportunity, or I don't know, like maybe even TNT. Especially if they're going to be doing less and less basketball, that could be like an untapped market from that perspective. But yeah, I think deep down, I think this is actually something that should have ended.
I think TBS has baseball. I think they get some games.
Don't they do like playoff baseball, TBS?
I think so.
Yeah, they do, right? Yeah. Okay.
I know. I see some Braves games there from time to time on TBS.
Okay.
Wasn't sure if they still did that or if that was just a thing of the past or not.
No, I'm not sure, but we'll get into that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't bring that point up when I was introducing the topic. It felt like baseball wasn't getting enough exposure on ESPN, and in a way, they're right. Like, I mean, because the league just don't pop. A story like that just don't pop. Like, where it can overtake a LeBron James story or a Pat Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs type story, and baseball still has to work out the kinks to market towards the younger audience. Baseball is really not a social media phenomenon like the other sports, like football or basketball or NBA, NFL. And now it's going to get a little bit harder to access these games. And that's a problem that I have in sports in general. Like, it's so hard to pinpoint where you can get games in one setting. You have to get MLB TV for this, the Fox Sports for these baseball games. You got to go on TBS for these baseball games. Apple. It's getting tough. And baseball is a sport that I wish that I do want to see more of. I am interested, but it doesn't speak volumes to me. Like, I have to go seek it. It's not right there with me. But also, I agree with you, Matt. I think that's a relationship that had to end. It seemed like Sunday Night Baseball was a sinking ship. Like, I've watched Sunday Night Baseball, and even though the analysts, they know what they're talking about, the reporters, it wasn't like flashy. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like when you watch the NBA show on ESPN, or when you do football pregame shows on ESPN where, it has that aura. Like, Sunday Night Baseball really didn't have that aura. Matter of fact, Major League Baseball looks a lot better on Fox.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, a lot better on Fox. And they already, I think they already have the All-Star game on Fox, I think. Or they have before. So I think they should just continue to invest in that, Fox Sports, and just expand from there. But yeah, I think ESPN, that deal is over with. I don't think they should revisit or revise that. And hopefully baseball finds its way to the younger audience, because I think it is a terrific sport. It is a terrific league. They have great players on there, but I do want to see a little bit more personality. I want to see them get a little bit more younger, a little bit more hip, and catch back up. I mean, we starting to see that already with them having the pitch clock, speeding up the game a little bit, making it a little faster, trying to make it a little bit more offensive. So, they're trying, but they've been behind the 8 ball for so long. They have a lot of more work to do. Any closing remarks regarding anything in the sports world? Noah, any closing remarks? What's something on your mind?
I can't wait for free agency in NFL, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to solve that quarterback problem. Something got to be done.
Yes, we do.
I know we didn't talk about this, but I'm excited for March Madness coming up here soon. One team, paying attention, one team that's kind of caught my eye recently is Auburn. They're a top 5 team in the country. I think they've had the number 1 strength of schedule. Janai Broom has been looking solid. He had a great 16-13 performance the other night. They have multiple players shooting 37% or above from 3-point range, and 6 players averaging double figures. So don't sleep on Auburn in the March Madness tournament.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna keep our eye on March Madness. It's always a fun time. It's my favorite postseason.
Hell yeah.
Postseason event of all the sports, all the postseason. So it's gonna be great. Too bad my Syracuse Orange ain't gonna make the tournament. They not making it. Yeah, sad times over here.
But they're good this year either. Don't worry.
But that was the end of the Stacey On Sports Show here on YouTube with myself, Stacey Carter II, Noah Urruti, and Matt Huff. Follow us everywhere on social media, Stacey On Sports. Don't forget to check out our podcast, which is featured on Underdog Podcast. Also, around the corner, Noah's leading the charge with Bases Loaded, which is going to be another podcast show under SOS. He got a whole crew with him. They know what they're talking about as far as baseball. You're going to see the guru Chase back again. And Chase has a couple things right. I like Chase. He's
Yes,
doing
sir.
good. Yeah.
All you
Yeah, but-
baseball fans, stay tuned, baby.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.